Michele Bolsonaro is scared because of the polls. She launched her candidacy for the Senate. And I told you yesterday, and after I said it, other channels talked about it too. And I told you that there could be a scheme. Regarding the nomination of Flávio Bolsonaro, I was the first to talk about it. Nominating Alfredo Gaspar as his running mate. And on the 15th, he will announce Michele as his running mate. That is, if he convinces her. Because that's the strategy. And she's being backed into a corner. Because the candidate he chose as his running mate is so bad. Really, really bad. So for sure, he's looking for a woman. An evangelical woman, someone who has some influence among women. And who is it? Michele. And soon Michele Bolsonaro will have the nerve to show her face. And she'll say that Flávio is a great companion if they manage to convince her. Because what's happening still benefits this situation. She is losing in the polls to the senator in the federal district. And she has the highest disapproval rating. Andrea. That's right. Look at this. Leila. She has 46.9%. And Michele is getting 42% in the voting intention polls. Senate in the federal district. Leila Duvole is leading, and Michele Bolsonaro has the highest rejection rate, according to the survey. The survey shows that 30.6% of voters would not vote for the former First Lady under any circumstances. Behind the scenes, Michele Bolsonaro is being pressured to run as Flávio Bolsonaro's running mate. Who can, until the 15th at 7 p.m., change his running mate? And the vice president he chose, Alfredo Gaspar, that went down really badly. The guy is under investigation in a case of rape of a vulnerable person. And he's also under investigation for the issue of misuse of congressional earmark funds. So it looked really bad. He's not known nationally. And he, on Tuesday this week, he had already announced that he would run for the Senate for Alagoas, which would harm Arthur Lira there in Alagoas. So that was on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, he paid for an emergency flight to go to Brasilia for Flávio to announce him as his running mate, benefiting only one person because it didn't benefit Flávio. So far, it has only benefited Arthur Lira. And it was a big mistake for Flávio. And I told you yesterday, in my view, this could all be a strategy and a setup. So that on the 15th, he announces Michele as his running mate. An evangelical woman and who has a certain influence among women. Do you understand, my dear? It's just that Michele doesn't want to. But she's under a lot of pressure to give you an idea. Don't think that Bolsonaro's children want to visit their father just because they want to see him. No. Bolsonaro's children asked for permission to visit Bolsonaro on Father's Day. It's not to visit Bolsonaro because it's their father on Father's Day. No, it's to gather everyone and pressure Michele, Alexandre de Moraes. It's a question of whether he will allow it. He forwarded this request to the minister, not to the minister, to the attorney general, to give an opinion on this, whether it should be allowed or not. But I believe that Alexandre de Moraes will not allow it. Because everyone knows what I'm telling you. It's not about Michele herself. That I started talking about. And everyone started talking about it. But about the fact that they are trying to use Bolsonaro politically. They are not interested in Bolsonaro himself. They are interested in votes and elections and causing trouble. and causing so much trouble that it doesn't matter if Bolsonaro goes back to Papuda. For them, it doesn't matter since they've already created many situations where Alexandre de Moraes could have already sent Bolsonaro back to Papuda. The use of official intelligence, that letter, a bunch of situations that later Bolsonaro himself said he hadn't authorized any of that. And for them, Bolsonaro going back to Papuda is giving him a platform. It's putting the spotlight on him. For them, poor, unfortunate, screwed, persecuted by Alexandre de Moraes' communist dictatorship, me against them against us. And it becomes their kind of craziness. But for what? To sweet talk the herd. And Alexandre de Moraes hasn't been fooled yet. And I don't believe Alexandre de Moraes will authorize Flávio Bolsonaro, especially since he was forbidden to visit his father until the election, exactly because he was using all of this to gain electoral advantage and even harming his father. And this meeting they want to have on Sunday isn't to visit Bolsonaro, it's to pressure and corner Michele. Michele didn't even go. She didn't go to the convention and she didn't go to the vice announcement either. Then Damaris Alves was asked about it and Damaris Alves said no, she's in the kitchen. She had to stay and cook for Bolsonaro. Flávio is desperate for Michele to be his running mate, desperate. This guy just came in to fill the spot so it wouldn't be left empty for her, you know? It's just talk to fool people. And to see if it would look good if he brought up the issue of Lulinha, baby, baby, baby. Because Alfredo Gaspar, he was president. No. He was the rapporteur for the Parliamentary Commission of Inquiry there in the National Congress about the INSS fraud. And his report, it protected Daniel Vorkar and Fabiano Zettel. And the report he made was so bad that it protected the criminals that his report was rejected. In the committee, his report was not approved by 19 votes to 12. Who's Alfredo Gaspar's who was protecting criminals? But Flávio put him there to see if it would gain traction on social media. The Lulinha issue, it didn't. It was the opposite. It gained traction. It was the issue that he protected, tried to protect and did protect, Daniel Vorkar and Fabiano Zettel. And his issue, the one about the suspicion of rape of a vulnerable person. And also the issue of the misappropriation of 6 million in budget earmarks. That's what came up on social media. And also that Flávio said he was going to find a woman to be his running mate and he couldn't. He showed up with a grown man because PP, Progressive Republican Union Brazil, look, they backed out. No one wanted to run with him, and he ended up having to make a single-party ticket, and Michele can join because she's from PL. If she were from another party, she couldn't. And if he loses TV time and loses money in the electoral race to run the campaign, so he didn't want that. That's what's left, and now he's desperate for Michele. Michele is running from him like the devil runs from the cross. That's what's happening. And what about Valdemar Costa Neto? Valdemar Costa Neto's approach to Michele about being Flávio's running mate isn't just an inquiry. The inquiry happened a while ago. Now it's pressure. Maybe even coercion for her to be his running mate. Let's see. Rogério Correa talked about the position of Flávio's vice, Alfredo Gaspar. Over there at the joint inquiry into the INSS fraud, him shielding criminals.
Let's take a look here.
A little clip from ICL. Look here.
And Alfredo Gaspar, if you believe that he could have acted to shield Flávio Bolsonaro's circle in this joint congressional inquiry, how would he have done that?
Gabriela, I don't just believe it, I'm sure. Not only him, but also Carlos Viana. Carlos Viana was the president. who was Senator Carlos Viana, who is from Minas Gerais, president of the CPMI committee. Remember that they got the presidency of the CPMI because of a slip-up we made in the first meeting. So with that, they managed to elect the president, Carlos Viana, and the senator, and he appointed Congressman Gaspar to be the rapporteur. So they formed a duo whose goal was to try to confuse what actually happened regarding the INSS, shift the focus to everything during President Lula's government and forget the past, therefore rewriting history, which they are very skilled at doing, and try to blame the fraud on President Lula's government. The problem is that later the Banco Master also appeared, and then they wanted to forget the master story. Regarding the issue of association dues deductions, which was the first observation, the first analysis we made of the CPMI, both of them targeted President Lula's government as if that's really where it happened in the past. The entities that were selected to be able to make the deductions were shell entities. All of this was legislation pushed by Bolsonarism throughout the entire Bolsonaro government. These entities made deductions of 40, 50, 60 reais from retirees who didn't even know these entities existed. Millions of retirees, billions of reais. This continued into President Lula's government. When this was reported, we began investigating through the Office of the Comptroller General and Federal Police, and this ended during President Lula's government. The association deduction stopped and President Lula ordered the money returned. They want to forget about that past part, as if this didn't come from way back in the Bolsonarism years. I think they got the worst of it in this. It got worse for them when the case of the Volcado came up, because then we found out that this Leticia and this Willa Thomas, he appointed this Leticia to be the office coordinator, but she wasn't even a lawyer. She coordinated Flávio Bolsonaro's office, and she's the sister of the accountant of the bald guy from INSS. That's where we found everything. We needed to know how this money was coming out from the bald guy at INSS. It went through the accountant and would reach Flávio Bolsonaro and his office. Because Willa Thomas was the lawyer, the administrator for both parties, both for the office, and that's why he recommended Leticia, and for the accountant, who was Leticia's brother. So that's how the money from Careca also reached the office and the money laundering operation of Flávio Bolsonaro. That was the line of investigation that we proposed to follow. That request was never even put to a vote because the rapporteur wouldn't bring it up and the president wouldn't put it to a vote. The rapporteur wouldn't list it and the president wouldn't put it up for a vote. So they kept shielding themselves. They had a dual role to divert the subject to Lulinha all the time. He had nothing to do with the CPMI or the INSS. They shifted the subject to that and hid what we really needed to see, which was where the resources from Vorcaro, which were also from the INSS, because Vorcaro had payroll loans. Where did that money end up? When the CPMI was already over, we found out that the relationship between Flávio and Bolsonaro was much bigger than we had expected. Those were the conversations that The Intercept uncovered. You guys covered that a lot. That's where Vorcaro paid into that fund. In the United States, it's the money for the Bolsonaro family, which I call a bribe. And Willa Thomas was the one who brokered this. Now, this Willa Thomas, I'm saying Thomas, it's Willa Thomas. This Willa Thomas has now been caught in this federal police investigation. He also had inside the INSS and other connections like this one with Senator Weverton from the PDC. But he's very close to Flávio Bolsonaro. So they never wanted to carry out this investigation.
How could Alfredo Gaspar, if you believe he may have acted to shield Flavio's circle?
That's right. Congressman Rogerio Correa was one of the members of this CPMI there in the National Congress. And he witnessed up close all the schemes and strategies of Viana, the president, and the rapporteur, Alfredo Gaspar, to shield part of Daniel Vorcaro's mafia, there, together with Flávio Bolsonaro. And I know this too because I followed him. You know, those of you who follow me here, we followed this whole situation. And so it's a fact, Alfredo Gaspar's report. Incompetent, incoherent, that was shielding a criminal. It was so bad, really so bad, that it was rejected by 19 to 12 there in the Joint Parliamentary Commission of Inquiry, which was investigating the INSS fraud. What he was trying to do was shield Daniel Vorcaro, Fabiano Zettel, and others. There with Flávio Bolsonaro, who was also present. See, guys, join the channel here on WhatsApp. This is the WhatsApp channel, my WhatsApp channel. I'll see if I can improve the image here. Here. Always before the live starts, I send the link to you and I send an audio message letting you know so you can stay updated. For example, I'll play the audio I sent to the group. If you're on WhatsApp, I'll put the link here for you. You join the WhatsApp group. Because when there's a new live, I send the link and an audio message to let you know. Look here, pay attention to the audio here that I just sent a little while ago before the live started for people to join the live stream.
Brazil, my angel, I spent, my lord.
No, come on. Good morning.
I'm going to speed
Don't
it
sped
up
up.
more.
Good morning, my dear, my darling. It's Friday, Brazil. Today is the day I spend my 5 reais because I don't like gossip or minding other people's business. I mind my own business and that's about it. Let's go to the live stream, everyone. They're going after Andre Mendonça, you see? A new action to fight Andre Mendonça's interference for alleged interference by Andre Mendonça in the federal police. They brought an agency in against him. Let's get to this information and much more. Things are heating up. Stop slacking on the likes. Come on, people. Wake up.
You can go back to sleep later, everyone. Let's go.
So that's it. Come in here and you won't miss out on anything. You won't miss the live notifications because sometimes YouTube sends the notifications, sometimes it doesn't. And I've been noticing repeatedly many people are commenting here on the channel that they can't find my channel and they're not getting the notifications. If you join the WhatsApp group, you won't miss anything. Nothing. Whenever there's a live stream, I send a voice message and the link beforehand so you can join. Okay, then you have to click there and join. Right? And a lot of people are now saying they're having trouble hitting. Like, in that case, you'll have to go directly to YouTube. To do that other thing. What's that other thing YouTube has now, guys? What is it? It's not like, no. What's that other thing on YouTube called? If anyone knows, write it for me. I'll show you here. YouTube has something else now. Let me see if I can show you here. I didn't even know. Some of you were the ones who told me. Andrea, I did something to the video. Strike? No, it's not a strike. No, what is it? Ripar. Smart people. You can like it, then you go into the comments. Then there are comments, you scroll over here, then you upload the video. What does that mean, Rip, Andrea? I think it means to upload the video. Say that you like the video. Rip. That's it. So you can also upload the video, which is also very important for us to reach more people. Okay? But let's keep going here. Look at Sergio Moro here. Check out Sergio Moro's post and what he said. Lula has Lulinha. Flávio Bolsonaro has Alfredo Gaspar. The former judge wrote with the intellectual confidence of someone who would never let a causal relationship get in the way of a good headline. Lula has Lulinha. And Flávio Bolsonaro has Alfredo Gaspar. Of course, Lula has Lulinha. Fabio Lulinha is Lula's son. He really does have Lulinha. Now, Flávio Bolsonaro having Alfredo Gaspar as his running mate was a choice. No, Andrea. Andrea, it wasn't a choice. It was what was left. It was what remained. Because nobody wants Flávio Bolsonaro. These Bolsonaro supporters are always using these catchphrases that don't mean anything and end up working against him if you stop and think about it. Now, I really want to know, Sergio Moro, when will you be held accountable for your suspicious and criminal actions in Operation Car Wash? Gabriela Hart was suspended for 2 years for an illegal act within Operation Car Wash. She is facing an administrative disciplinary process, which could lead to her dismissal, and she could still face criminal charges. And Sergio Moro, when is he going to be held accountable? And Delta and Dalañol, when are they going to be held accountable? That's what I want to know, Sergio Moro. Then comes the other so-called champion of the fool's intelligence and posts this. He posts this here, look. Are you afraid of communism? Carlos Bolsonaro posted it, guys. Are you afraid of communism? So call now and get Flávio Bolsonaro. Ha ha ha. Oh my God. Oh Jesus. What the hell is this, for God's sake? Which communism is he talking about? Even the right-wing movement with Lula is rising now. Why, Andre? Because nobody wants Flávio Bolsonaro's trouble. Are you afraid of communism? Soon they'll say again that Lula is going to close churches, that Lula is going to persecute pastors, that Lula is going to eat little children, that Lula is going to take your apartment, split it in two, and give it to the poor. The penis-shaped baby bottle, the gay kid, have you already forgotten? What kind of communism is this, guys? I've never even seen it. Where is it? Then they go and post this here, the little catchphrase. Then the idiots go, look. If you're afraid, it's communism. If you're afraid of communism, look at Venezuela. He posts almost daily. Brazil will become another Venezuela. Venezuela is over there in Argentina. Together with the Bolsonaro supporter President Javier Milei, where people are eating donkey meat because they can't afford beef. Where, Andre? In Javier Milei's Argentina. It has turned into another Venezuela over there. Brazil. On the weekend, go to the mall. You see how many people there are? Airport. Do you know that I took a big trip during my vacation this July? Airport. Crowded, going everywhere. The airports I went to, Goiânia, Salvador, and São Paulo. On this trip of mine, everything was packed. What kind of Venezuela is this, for God's sake? What communism? Communism. What kind of communism is this? You travel by plane, you replace your car, you buy a house, you go to the mall on the weekend to spend your 5 reais, 50 reais, 500 reais. What kind of Venezuela is this? For God's sake, but do you know what this is? Get the code. What is this, guys? It starts with D. E-S. D is Z. PR. They're desperate. And let me tell you something. The lies have only just begun. Because they're going to work with lies, with fake news, with hate. The devil is the enemy. It's communism. It's the devil himself, just to sweet talk the herd. Then the entire herd follows. The lies have just started. That's why every now and then the herd shows up here, because they're desperate. They want to silence us, and they won't silence us. You can vote for whoever you want. You can be right-wing, left-wing, centrist. You can be whatever you want. But I've already told you, you can't be part of the herd. Otherwise, you'll be used, manipulated, herded, discarded, and taken to the grill. You vote for Flávio. There's Renan. There's Renan. Renan Santos. He's getting shot at and beaten up by Huggy Bear. Because Flávio already chickened out. So there's Renan. Just go for it. What faith? I don't know, right? But go ahead. So, Andrea, what's the solution given all the context of everything I told you? I haven't even mentioned the TSC and Nunes Marcus yet, right? Today, I won't talk about it so it doesn't get boring, okay? Because I talked about it yesterday. So, what's the best solution, Andrea, for all of this? For us to work, to get involved, for Lula to win in the first round. Because what they want is chaos. What they want is to call the electoral system into question. What they want is interference from the United States. So the sooner Lula wins, the better. Lula wins in the first round right away and puts an end to this nonsense and disgrace, to this mess from these no-account people. Do you understand? In fact, Congressman Leonel Hadi, my dear from Rio Grande do Sul, who deserves our full support, talk to Tico Tico about this here. Pay attention to what he says. Always constructive.
Because there are factors being put together, and that's what we have to watch very carefully. First, United States interference in Brazil's election. This influence that's going to be financial from big techs, right? All these points. This is something we have to watch because it could, right? The disinformation network ends up reaching the TSE. On the other hand, that will be working in favor of Flávio Bolsonaro, like Cássio Nunes Marques and André Mendonça. So we know that there won't be any quick action that we expect regarding fake news and electoral crimes, and they will take advantage of that, right? Big techs, United States funding, the issue of electoral justice. So, I mean, they have a good team, right, to push an election narrative that seems normal, but actually there is an ethical and moral deviation regarding this. But along with that, we have to observe some moves that Flávio Bolsonaro has made. For example, I waive federal police protection. I'm going to wear a bulletproof vest now, 24 hours a day. Then a random lawyer comes and says, there is a disinformation campaign that received 200,000 reais against Flávio Bolsonaro. So for me, their silver bullet will be to create a factoid, whether it's an attack against Flávio Bolsonaro, whether it's a situation involving an allegation about China, or I don't know, the communist, I don't know where from, the Cuban who pays for I don't know what and destabilizes the election. I mean, everything they do, they will try to blame us for this issue. And also, it's a point that I don't think we should rule out, which is a military action by the United States during the electoral process. For example, we managed to arrest the, I don't know, some major trafficker, some trafficker or whatever with I don't know how many tons, you know, something like that of intervention, right? Inside, I don't know, in Guanabara Bay. You know that story, like there was a boat going, I don't know where. So like, and this, of course, in an electoral process generates a whole debate about sovereignty and that we defend criminality. So it seems to me that this would be the most viable strategy and the one that is being put together more clearly by the Bolsonaro supporters, you know, creating a factoid with the help of the United States and trying then from that generate a narrative. I see that there's a factor that, well,
So we have to rally behind Lula so he wins in the first round to put an end to this nonsense right away. Because the longer it drags on and gets postponed, the more space and time they'll have to cause trouble. To plot even. In every area, unfortunately. To scheme in the social sphere. With the support of bought and sold influencers, with the support of bought and sold journalists, with the support of part of the Bolsonaro-aligned judiciary. With a group of military officers who were not held accountable for January 8th and who are still there quietly, and they are reorganizing again. To sabotage the government, to cause trouble and support the intervention of the United States and of politicians, congressmen, and senators. Right, Flávio? Right, Eduardo Bananina? Who are there taking these matters to the United States to see if they can convince the United States to intervene directly in Brazil? So the sooner Lula wins, the sooner all this nonsense stops. And puts an end to it. And it's Lula. There's no better candidate than Lula, guys. There isn't. And notice that here the right wing totally split. All the other candidates are right wing, all of them. There are so many candidates that I don't even know how many there are in the end. A bunch of right wing candidates. And as for the progressive left, only Lula. Lula managed to bring everyone together with him. While Flávio Bolsonaro didn't bring anyone together, he split everything up. Why? Because he's as dirty as they come. And why Lula? Lula is going to speak. Why Lula? Let's see what he says. Pay attention.
For me, every day. Why do I need a fourth term? And my answer is simple. I can't let the right come back the way it is. I can't. If it were a civilized right, I've already run against Fernando Henrique Cardoso, Alckmin, and Serra. Back then, it was about civility. You lost, you won, you governed. But these people, fascists, these destructive deniers, these guys who live on lies and respect nothing, I won't let it happen. I ask myself daily, why do I need a fourth term? And my answer is simple. It could even be 5. I still can't let the right wing come back the way it is. I can't. If it were a civilized right wing, I already ran against Fernando Henrique Cardoso, Alckmin, and Serra. Back then, there was civility. You lost, you won, you governed. But these ones, fascists, these denialist destroyers, these guys who live on lies and respect nothing, I won't allow it.
That's it. And I'm not even telling you guys. The problem isn't being right wing, left wing, or centrist, because political pluralism is one of the foundations of our democratic rule of law, as stated and established in our federal constitution. That's not the problem. You can be whatever you want. The problem is that today we have a coup-plotting fascist right that is capable of sabotaging Brazil, putting Brazil on a collision course with countries like the United States, even militarily, which is their dream, to return to power. Right, Flávio? The hell with the rest. That's not right wing. As Lula mentioned, he has already run against Fernando Henrique Cardoso. He has even run against Geraldo Alckmin himself, who was part of the Democratic right. A right wing that debated in the political arena. And that didn't resort to these made-up stories, these big lies, these situations meant to provoke fear and terror in people, where they create enemies that are like the devil, I don't know what, turning people into something else. Demonizing people. Dehumanizing people. Trying to present unnatural situations as normal, to try to normalize the absurd, to try to normalize crime, to try to normalize the coup, to try to normalize the attack on democracy. So that's not acceptable, guys. It's not acceptable. Write down Lula Tetra in the first round. Take a look at the first comment that I'm going to post for you now. There's a lot of important stuff there. Kisses, thank you so much. I'll be back soon. Smash that like button. See you later. Bye-bye.